This is Tyrone Holmes, the founder and CEO of the MSF Fidelis. We welcome you back to the Trauma Network for Men. We are so glad to be back with you again. We hope that you have been enjoying our broadcast thus far and hope that you have been getting something out of it. If there's a man in your life, women, if you're listening to this, hope that you can pass this on to the man in your life, whether it's your husband or your son, a neighbor that you may know, a co-worker, a nephew or uncle, or your father. Because all men are struggling with something in life, and we're so glad to be able to bring these broadcasts to you because we think it's very, very important that we address these issues because nobody else is talking about the men issues. And we always wonder when a man commits a crime, a heinous crime or something, well, why did he do that? Well, this is the reason why this network is here. This is the reason why the MSF Fidelis organization is here in Durham. We've been doing this almost 5 years now. We are here to be a support to men and be able to sit down with men in an atmosphere where they feel comfortable, where they can talk and not worry about their business going in the street, but it's confined to these 4 walls. So we welcome you back to our broadcast. We welcome Brother Josh back. Good to have you, brother.
Good to have you too,
all right, good to have you back. Last week, we started on a broadcast last week. I think it's very powerful. We talked about every man's battle, winning the war on sexual temptation, one victory at a time. And last week, we dealt with sexual addiction. Each man, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you go through, you cannot say that you don't have a problem with sex. You may not be acting out on those impulses that we were talking about last week, Brother John, but our eyes get us in trouble.
Yes, sir.
Either when we watch television, those thoughts, the magazines, billboards, music that we listen to, all that stuff brings that thing into our mind. And we're going to talk about this again tonight, Brother Josh, and we get in part 2 about how we can be drawn in to sexual gratification, even if we're not indulgent per se. But if we see a beautiful woman, all men are guilty. The first thing we're gonna look at, that's right, that's right. And we gonna start undressing her with our eyes, right? That's the first thing we do. So we're going to be dealing with that tonight. But the first thing I want to go over, we're just going to do a brief review of what we dealt with last week. What is an addiction? I think Brother Josh can go to some points about what was sex addiction last week and what we talked about. What is a sexual addiction? Right here.
What is an addiction? Mm-hmm. An addiction is a constellation of unbiblical habits,
yes,
thinking and acting that have become a lifestyle.
That's correct.
When people overemphasize the importance of sex in their life, mm-hmm, it begins to dictate a lifestyle to them, and they become obsessed with the thought of sex.
Okay, stop right there. That's the key point. It's a lifestyle. Just like you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you comb your hair, you put your clothes on, whatever you do in the morning as a habitual habit that you do every morning, that becomes a lifestyle.
Yes, sir.
The more you get drawn in by the temptation, and we talked about a little bit about this last week, about the young man, Elliot Roger, out in California, because got rejected.
Went out and killed all
That's right. He killed the people because
he killed himself.
He felt that he was entitled, because he was a virgin, he felt that he was entitled to having women. But he was always getting put down. He was never getting the attention that he wanted.
And his friend was getting all the girls.
Exactly.
And he got jealous because of the rejection.
Exactly.
He went out and killed the women. He killed the dude in the store.
That's right. Absolutely.
Then he killed somebody.
He killed
more people on the
yes,
street.
Yes.
And then he killed himself.
He killed himself. So that tells us that an addiction is a lifestyle, and the more that you do it, the more it's going to become a habit. Just like smoking. You may not start out being a smoker, but that first puff is going to get you, oh man, it draws you in. Okay, if you like sports, if you like clothes, I love clothes. I like to eat too, but I try to monitor my eating. I love to eat. But anything can be an addiction and become a lifestyle the more you do it over and over again.
You see, along with that too, Brother Tyrone, a lot of lifestyles lead to a lot of health problems.
Sure, absolutely.
Too much sugar can lead to diabetes.
Yes.
Too much salt can lead to high blood pressure.
Absolutely.
And also, I bet you knew this though, but eating a lot of salt can also lead to stroke.
Sure. Well, that's all dealing with the heart. That's right, absolutely. So let's go down to the next one, just as a review. What are the signs and symptoms of sexual addiction? Brother Josh, go back and read that for us from last week.
All right, a symptom is something the patient senses and describes, while a sign is something other people, such as the doctor, notice.
Yes.
For example, drowsiness may be a symptom, while dilated pupils may be a sign.
Yes.
Even though there is no current official diagnosis for sex addiction, doctors and researchers have tried to define the disorder using criteria based on literature on chemical dependency.
Yes.
Some sexual addiction behaviors may include compulsive self-stimulation, also known as masturbation, multiple one-night stands,
Yes.
persistent use of pornography.
Yes.
A couple more would be multiple sexual partners,
Sure.
practicing unsafe sex,
Sure.
and one that's very important would be rape.
That's right, absolutely. So those first, now we found out what an addiction is, and then what the signs and symptoms. There's two different things between a sign and a symptom. We did that because some of us will say, well, he looks like he's a drug addict, or he looks like he's an alcoholic.
But he really may not be.
He may not be, but the underlying symptom may be, well, what is his lifestyle?
Right.
Goes like that. And what does his lifestyle dictate, and what you see that's corresponding to being an alcoholic or a drug addict? You see what I'm saying? So those things we got to look at, signs and symptoms. The next, what we were talking about, what are the causes of sexual addiction? Brother Josh.
Some studies have found that people with sex addiction frequently come from dysfunctional families.
Absolutely. We're going to stop right there. Majority of the time, these addictions are caused by dysfunctional families. Either there could be abuse in the family, it could be physical or mental, it could be drugs in the home, it could be alcohol abuse in the home, and it could be rape or incest in the home, and all those things. As that person gets older, especially men, he takes on those attributes and he passes it on to his family or his lifestyle. So that's very important. The next was, what are the complications of compulsive sexual behavior?
If left untreated, compulsive sexual behavior can leave the individual with intense feelings of guilt, his or her self-confidence and feeling of self-worth may be low. Some patients may develop severe anxiety and even depression.
Sure.
Other complications may include family relationship problems, even family breakups, financial problems, being infected with sexually transmitted infections,
Yes.
also known as STIs, and unplanned pregnancies. If the individual becomes involved in stalking,
Yes.
exhibitism, and or prostitution, client or prostitute, there may be problems with the law.
Okay. And there we gave a few examples of how ways to avoid sexual temptation. So Josh's going to give you a few of those, and then we're going to get into our lesson for today, part 2.
The ones I found that were really helpful to me was one, it said, find out what pleases the Lord.
That's right. Absolutely.
The third one I really like is the battle begins in the mind.
Yes. Yes.
And I'll read 2 more. Number 5, don't put yourself in situations where you'll be easily tempted.
Absolutely.
And also, remember God is watching.
Yes.
And you can resist.
That's right. Absolutely. So those are some keys from last week's broadcast that we dealt with dealing with sexual addiction. We hope that you, if you didn't watch that broadcast, we need you go back to the archives on our Facebook page, not on our Facebook page, I'm sorry, on our YouTube page, and you can listen to that broadcast. It's in 4 parts. It's like an hour long, but it's broken down into 20-minute segments, so you can listen to it at your leisure. If you're on lunch break or something like that, you're riding the bus or listening to it, or in your vehicle, whatever, you can listen to those broadcasts there. But also, what I wanted to do last week, we do have, if you men are interested or women that want to get something, we have some very special to give you. It's free of charge. We can send this to you through our email. It's a test called the Men's Sexual Addiction Screening Test. This is a test that it will determine if you have a sexual addiction, all right? It's free of charge to you. I'm going to read a few questions on here just to give you an idea of what we're looking like. Number 1, were you sexually abused as a child or adolescent? Did your parents have trouble with their sexual or romantic behaviors? Have your use of phone sex, computer sex lines, etc., exceeded your ability to pay for these services? Do you have trouble stopping your sexual behavior when you know it's inappropriate and or dangerous to your health? And then lastly, do you keep the extent of nature of your sexual activities hidden from your friends / your parents, or not related to your sexual orientation? So those are some questions that we have on the sex test. We have that here for you. You can reach out to us. You can email us at our email at info.menofsimplify@gmail.com. That's info.menofsimplify@gmail.com. Just send us your name with the email. We know we'll get it when you send it to us, and ask for the men's sexual addiction screening test. And what I'll do is, once I send it to you, what I'm going to do, I'll send it to you in a Word document form. That way you can fill out all the boxes, yes or no, answer them, and then send it right back to me, and then I will grade them, and then I will send it back to you with your I guess your grade, or if you are addicted, if you low risk or if you high risk, and then I'll let you know. And that way, if you need some help, if you want to talk to us about that, we will go forth and do that for you. So if you need it, and if you want to see if you have a sexual addiction, we have a test for you. You can get that if you would like. Okay, tonight we're going to start on our second broadcast tonight, or part 2. We're going to be dealing with gratification through the eyes. Gratification through the eyes. All right. Our leading scripture from last week, which we're going to always do each and every week until the end of the series, is no temptations has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. And that comes from 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, verses 13. All right? We're going to get Brother Josh to read us a few scriptures to start us off tonight about gratification through the eyes. First, we're going to start off with 1 John, the 2nd chapter, and verse number 16. 1 John. And then we're going to go to 2 Samuel, the 11th chapter, and verse 1 through 16. So, Brother Josh is going to read chapter 2 of 1 John and verse number 16.
For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes,
yes,
and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world.
That's right. Absolutely. Okay. We're going to go to 2 Samuel, the 11th chapter, and verses 1 through 16. 2 Samuel, verse 11, chapter 11, verses 1 through 16.
It happened in the spring of the year, at the time when kings go out to battle, that David sent
Bathsheba. I'm sorry. Joab
and his servants with him, and all of Israel, and they destroyed the people of Ammon, and beside Rabbah, but David remained at Jerusalem. Then it happened one evening that David arose from his bed and walked on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman bathing. And the woman was very beautiful to behold. So David sent and inquired about the women, and someone said, Is this not
Uriah.
Is this not Bathsheba? Bathsheba, the daughter of Elon, and the wife of Uriah, or the Hittite? Then David sent messengers and took her.
Yes.
And she came to him, and he lay with her, for she was cleansed from her impurity. And she returned to her house. And the woman conceived. So she sent and told David, and said, I am with child. Then David sent to Joab, saying, Send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. When Uriah had come to him, David asked how Joab was doing, and how the people were doing, and how the war prospered. And David said to Uriah, "Go down to your house and wash your feet." So Uriah departed from the king's house, and a gift of food from the king followed him.
Yes.
But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord, and did not go down to his house. So when they told David, saying, "Uriah did not go down to his house," David said to Uriah, Did you not come home from a journey?
Yes.
Why did you not go down to your house?"
Yes.
And Uriah said to David, "The ark of Israel and Judah are dwelling in tents, and my lord Joab
Yes.
and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go to my house to eat and drink, and to lay with my wife?
Yes.
As you live and as your soul lives, I will not do this thing." Then David said to Uriah, "Wait here today, also and tomorrow. I will let you depart." So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. Now when David called him, he ate and drank before him,
Yes.
and he made him drunk. And at evening he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his lord, but he did not go down to his house.
Yes.
In the morning it happened that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah.
Yes.
And he wrote in the letter saying, "Set Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retreat from him,
Yes.
that he may be struck down and die."
That's right.
So it was while Joab besieged the city that he assigned Uriah to a place where he knew that there were valiant men.
All right. What does that mean to you, Brother Joshua? What did you get out of that portion of scripture? And tell me, what did you get out of that?
Well, brother, this is very powerful scripture, but basically David went out and made Uriah's girl pregnant.
That's right, his wife.
His wife pregnant. And then he tried to get Uriah killed in battle.
Why is that?
So he can be with his wife.
Ah, cover up.
Yep.
So his eyes got him in trouble.
Yes, they did.
Gratification through the eyes.
He saw the beautiful woman and she was bathing.
There you go.
And then he sent his servants to go get her.
That's right.
And then he had sex with her. Then she ended up getting pregnant.
That's right.
And David tried to trick Uriah.
That's right.
To go home and lay down with his wife.
That's right.
And then in the end, he lies and tried to send him back to war. But he was going to be the only one out there.
That's right. But he did get killed in battle.
Yep.
He got killed. So what happens is our sin or the gratification of our eyes when it comes to sex can get us in deep trouble.
Yes, sir.
Because we are trying to cover up our steps. And you have heard many stories, and I've heard many stories. You may have seen things on TV where another man is sleeping with a man's woman or vice versa, or whatever. They sleep at the house and somebody come home and everything's being covered up. You see what I'm saying? So that happens all the time. So we got to remember, men, that our eyes can get us in trouble if we're not accountable to another man, where we can pick on the phone and say, "Brother, I got a problem. I see this beautiful girl. I got her number." Well, why did you get her number? What's going on? Is she married? You married? What's going on? Okay? So those things get us in trouble. So I'm glad you read that scripture, Brother Josh. So let's get into our lesson for the night, gratification through the eyes. All right? Gratification through the eyes. Images have a way of burning themselves into our remembrance. We talked about this on this past Tuesday, Brother Josh and I meeting. As one has looked closely at the series of bright images, we see them when his eyes are closed, a phenomenon called after-image or image burn-in. Long after we have seen things, their image remains burned into their memory. Now, what does that mean to you, and what did you get out of that when we talked about this on this past Tuesday? We talked about an image on your mind, because that's what David had. He got a picture. When he seen it, he visually seen something, and he went after.
So what I got out of the meeting this Tuesday was that you may suppress the image for a while, and then something, bam, triggers that image, and bam, there you have it. It's burned into your memory.
That's right, absolutely.
Like the sun blinds you when you look at the sun.
Yes.
So eventually that image the first thing we men see is the first thing that's going to be
burned into our mind.